Welcome to the Couchscouts podcast. We provide league-winning analysis, advice, and tools to help you dominate your league and build a dynasty. Scout, draft, win. Here's your host, Matt Cooper.
Hello, and welcome to the Couchscouts podcast, episode 122. I am your host, Matt Jackson. No Matt Cooper with me, but with me, as always, is my fellow co-host, Matt Rupert.
How you doing today, my man? I know you're powering through over there.
Yeah, man, I feel like I used to make this joke whenever we first got started on the podcast, but now we've got a bunch of new listeners, so I feel like I can make it again, and nobody knows it. This is my flu game. Recently, my whole family came down with the norovirus, so we have just been sick constantly all weekend. I am podcasting with a 102 degree or 100.2 degree fever, so we're gonna power through this thing, man, and see how it goes.
No one can say we're not dedicated to the game. What can we say?
No, not only that, man. I don't know if you recognize this or not, but NC State and Carolina are currently playing basketball on TV right now. And we're not watching that game. We're sitting here podcasting. So if that says anything about how dedicated we are, I mean, I think that speaks volumes.
Absolutely, 100%.
So I will have to check the score, after we get all the podcasts. But we were losing, so it's not anything that I care about. What I do care about, though, is talking about some more prospects, because we are knee-deep, guys, in prospect season. Today's show, we're continuing, heading back to the running back position, something we haven't done here for a while. We did it recently on the bonus podcast, so if you haven't tuned into the bonus podcast, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you guys do that, because we got some fun names over there. But tonight, we're going to be looking at Emmett Johnson, running back out of Nebraska. So Emmett Johnson was a three-star prospect coming out of high school and is listed at 5'11", 200 pounds on Nebraska's website. In 2025, he ran a whopping 251 times for 1,450 yards and 12 touchdowns. Quite the production profile. And if rushing, Rupert, doesn't add enough to the caveat, he also caught 46 of 54 targets for 370 yards and another 3 touchdowns. So, man, this guy, Emmett Johnson, his production profile is through the roof. We'll be comparing Emmett Johnson to 165 other FBS running backs with 100-plus carries in 2025. And for receiving, we're going to be comparing him to 135 FBS running backs with 20-plus targets. So I figure there's no better way to start than diving straight in, because not to spoil the lead or anything like that, but, man, this guy was a fun tape watch. I enjoyed every minute of watching Emmett Johnson film. So I'm excited to dive into it. We're going to start, as we always do, with vision and patience. You got to be able to read the lanes, and this is something that, I feel like we're going to be excited about. But why don't you go and tell us a little bit about Emmett Johnson's vision and patience?
These are both really good strong suits for him. His vision is good behind his offensive line. I think it's borderline special at the second level. His ability to string multiple moves together. You see it a lot of time on tape where he strings 4 and 5 like double-legged jukes in a row. Just kind of ping-ponging essentially through the second level to get up to the safeties and create a nice chunk play. Behind the line, I thought is pretty solid, especially as I watched more and more games. Ended up scouting 7 games from him, and it was just so fun to watch it. But as I went on, I thought his vision behind the line improved. His ability to be able to see like the far backside cutback lanes was something I noticed. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more nuance with trying to, trick linebackers to jumping into a hole, but I think it goes back to his patience. I thought his patience was solid. Don't get me wrong. I feel like it would have been even better if he was a little more patient. He's a guy that plays at 100 miles an hour, and I love, to watch him on tape, but I feel like he could have benefited from being a little bit slower back there. So I gave him a 7 for patience, because he does show at times, especially like when he's stringing moves together. That's kind of how he, is patient behind the line. He's, double jump leg cutting from his right guard back to his left guard. Um, but I think if that improved, like he would be even better. So I gave him a 7 above NFL average for patience. I gave him 8 for vision, and that's mainly driven by what was incredible vision at the second level.
His second level vision is really nice. I gave him an 8 for vision as well. I would agree with you. I thought it improved as the games went on behind the line of scrimmage. But man, once he got to the second level, his ability to stick the foot in the ground, explode the other direction, kind of lure guys in one way and then cut the other way. I mean, how many clips were we sending back and forth to each other? The guy just like breaking off like this long run where like we're texting each other going like he should have been tackled like 4 or 5 tacklers ago, but because of his vision, his ability to see the field, to read the open space, he was able to break off longer runs than maybe he would have been able to. I would agree with his patience, although I gave him a 6 for patience, and here's why I gave him a 6 for patience. Is he a patient back? I think he is. I definitely noticed what you were saying, his ability to kind of string jump cuts together and be patient and wait for something open. Like he has patience in his game. Why I graded him lower on patience though is sometimes it felt like he was a little too patient. Like, do you remember when Saquon Barkley was coming out of Penn State? And all the talks were like he's a phenomenal athlete. He's a really elusive back. Like he is one of the best running backs we've ever seen. But sometimes he tries to create too much in the backfield instead of just getting kind of what's there. I felt Emma Johnson could be a little bit like that sometimes. I felt like when he was dancing around and jumping 2, 3, 4 jump cuts together, there were some times where I wish he would have just picked a lane and exploded through it. And yes, you might have only gotten 3 or 4 yards, but 3 or 4 yards is better than the 1 or 2 that you got waiting for something bigger to develop. So that's why I gave him a 6. I think he has patience, but sometimes it felt like too much.
Yeah, it's we'll get to it later, but I feel like that's kind of the curse of these ridiculously elusive guys is they think they can always create. Um, so it leads them to call some negative plays.
Yeah, it is important to note he had a PFF run grade of 88.1, which is top 15 in the FBS. And I think a lot of that comes down to his vision, to his patience. The second level stuff, man, as you said, it was impressive, honestly. His ability to just create on his own. And for me, that was impressive just because his offensive line was shaky at times. So that stats completely back up what we're seeing. We're going to jump here to the next stat that we like to grade is elusiveness and tackle breaking. So what did you see here when it came to his elusiveness and his ability to break tackles?
This is just where, frankly, and I'm trying not to use this term too much, but I think his elusiveness is special. He's got that what we like to call the stop foot, go foot, where you can plant one foot in the ground, change direction, and accelerate out of that one foot instead of having to take uh, multiple steps to start gaining speed again. He's got the double leg jump cut too, but his dead leg cut is just filthy. Like you alluded to, there's so many times where he makes like 4 guys miss before he ends up getting tackled. I gave him an 8.5 here on elusiveness, and I really debated going to 9. I was so close. Um, but his tackle breaking is solid. 200-pound back, like right. He's not big. But I feel like he plays a little bigger. I gave him a 7 for tackle breaking. And I think he breaks tackles by making pretty much every hit a glancing blow and then also having really good contact balance. I gave him a 7.5 for his contact balance because he's able to take those, kind of off shots and keep on his feet. He does a really good job of keeping his legs churning. So he's trying to gain positive yards every time, even though he's not a guy that's blessed with um, a bigger frame.
No, I had that same debate you did. I had it at 8.5. for a long time, probably like 3 or 4 games. And then like by the 5th or 6th game, I was like, what am I doing? Like put it at 9. I think the epitome of his elusiveness for me was that play against Northwestern where he gets the handoff and there's immediately somebody in the backfield. They're staring at each other within like 1.5 yards of each other. And by all intents and measures, like Emmett Johnson is down for a loss, right?
What
Except that he's like
what
one
would
of
you
the
say?
most,
Like 995
yeah,
running backs would get tackled on that out of a
yeah,
thousand,
yeah.
and
No, it's but because Emmett Johnson is as elusive as he was, like he sticks his foot in the ground and gives like a little shimmy shake, and he's gone, right? And like,
yeah,
and that
doesn't
wasn't
even
just
get
a
touched.
that wasn't a one play thing. Like he does this in the running game, he does it in open space, he does it in the receiving game. There were some plays we're going to talk about this when we get to his pass catching that like he catches a pass and there's like like 7 guys around him and he somehow scores a touchdown. Like
Yeah,
he is so elusive to where it is borderline special, right? You're talking about an elite trait here, like his ability to cut, jump cut. I mean, he is for 200 pound for a 200 pound back, excuse me, it feels like he moves like he's 185, 180. Like he moves so different than every other back. Like we've been doing this long enough, I feel like, where you know what I'm talking about, Rupert. When you're watching a guy on film and you've been grading all these traits for 30 guys for a few years, and you just look at this trait and you go, this guy does it differently. Emmett Johnson is one of those guys that elusiveness, he does it differently. He moves different. I will agree with you though when it comes to break tackles. I give him a 7. He does this good. I feel like he's not a power back, right? We're going to get to this when it comes to his power and for me his pad level a little bit, but he breaks these tackles because guys almost never hit him square on. He's always getting skinny in the hole, shifting his body weight. That's how he forces missed tackles, and he does that really well. He had 2.95. I guess that's yards. Um,
yards carried over expected.
Yards carry over expected.
Wait, yards. Wait,
I have no idea what that stat is, to be honest with you. I'm going to have to ask Garrett what that is. I do know that he had 68 missed tackles forced in 2025. That was the 6th most in FBS. That
it's.
tracks.
I'm sorry. It's 2.95 yards after contact per attempt.
Yards after contact per attempt, which honestly, that measure is bottom 35 in the FPS. That doesn't track with what I saw because he was forcing missed contacts and gaining extra yards at a high rate, I thought. But maybe that comes down to just the power aspect we're going to talk about here in a little bit. As I said, 68 missed tackles in 2025. That was 6th most. He forced missed tackles on 27.1 of his carries, which is a wild number. Again, this just goes back to his elusiveness. Again, we're talking about a special trait here, something he does really, really well. So good grades for vision, patience, good grades for really great grades for elusiveness, good grades for break tackle. Let's talk about some of his athleticism.
But before we move on,
Yeah.
we talk about it over the years. Like sometimes we get on here and we exchange thoughts, and we're like, "Yeah, I should bump that up." I did. I bumped him up to a 9 on elusiveness. He's
Yeah.
that good. I'm just stingy giving out 9s. I gave a 9 to Jeremiah Love. I'm like, yeah, he's as elusive as he is. So,
Well, I mean, I'm looking at it like a guy that we're going to talk about here on the main show or the bonus show. I gave it 8.5, right? And watching their two films, I'm like, Emmett Johnson's more elusive than the guy that I gave an 8.5 to, right? So for me, that's a clear 9. But we're going to jump in now talking about some of his athleticism scores, the burst, game speed. What did you see here from Emmett Johnson?
I thought he was solid in all these areas. I gave him a 7.5 for game speed. I gave him 8 for burst acceleration. Kind of going back to what I talked to, he can accelerate like off 1 foot, which not a lot of guys I see can do that. And then I gave him an 8.5 for quickness. He breaks off the long runs. I wouldn't say that he pulls away, but he doesn't get caught a lot. And if he does get caught, it's after like a long chase. So I thought his game speed was good. He's able to take the corner. Like if he can suck the defenders into the middle, he can cut it outside and get the corner. I think that speaks to his acceleration and his top end speed. So I thought these were all really good marks for him. And frankly, at his size, he needs to be a above average athlete, and I think he absolutely is.
Yeah, so interesting note here, 27.9% of his rushing yards came on breakaway runs. That was bottom 30% of FPS. I think some of that kind of alludes to what you were talking about. He's got good speed. He can get the corner. I feel like he's got really good burst. Once he hits that open hole, once he's decisive and hits the hole, he gets up to top speed fast. I didn't see him get caught a lot, but again, he wasn't the fastest guy on the field. So a lot of that tracks for me. I gave him a 7.5 for game speed. I gave him an 8 for burst and acceleration. I thought he did that. He has better burst and acceleration than maybe he does long speed. So that's kind of where I was there. But again, that's all really good grades for me. So right now, it's interesting, Rupert. We're talking about a guy. You have good vision. You have good elusiveness. You have good game speed and burst. You can break tackles at a pretty good rate. I mean, this is a guy who I'm liking so far. We're going to get into it here in just a second. One area that I think he's not as great in, but before we do that, I want to pause a minute and tell you guys about our website, couchscouts.com. We are your go-to source for all things rookie content. We've got a rookie guide that we are just working night and day on right now to help you guys dominate your rookie draft. We do hundreds of hours of study looking at prospects, trying to find those hidden gems in the rookie draft. And we put it all together in a digestible format. You can sort by position, you can sort by our rankings, and it gives you all the things that we're talking about on the podcast for you to read in a digestible format. We also have Dynasty rankings that we update regularly. We have a bonus podcast that we're about to do right here after we get off of this podcast, talk about Damon Claiborne. And then we've got a film room for Devi as well. So if you want to get in and scout maybe the quarterback that was playing with Emmett Johnson and Dylan Raiola, the Patrick Mahomes clone, if you want to call him that, you can get in there and do that in our film room. We also have a merch shop that I feel like we don't talk about a lot. I almost wore my Couch Scouts shirt, but my dog laid on it last night, and it was incredibly filled with her hair. So I didn't wear that, but we have all sorts of merch. You guys can get into it. We pack that thing jam full of just value to help you guys dominate your drafts and to build a dynasty. And you can get it as low as a cup of coffee a month, or you can save when you bundle yearly. Hope you guys will do that. We'd love to have you over there. We also have a free Discord that you can join and get in with our community. That is couchscouts.com. All right, let's get into an area, Rupert, that I feel like if Emmett Johnson has a weakness, this is probably his weakness. That's physicality and power. We mentioned earlier he's a 200-pound back, so he doesn't really have the frame of those 220, 225-pound power backs. So how does that affect his physicality and power? Why don't you tell me what you saw here out of Emmett Johnson?
Yeah, there's just no way around it. I gave him a 5 for physicality and power, which honestly, like at his size, is not bad at all. I thought he does a good job, as I talked about earlier, with breaking tackles and making things glancing blows, and he does keep his legs churning with good form there. It's just he just doesn't have that crazy freakishly strong legs. So if the defenders do get, a solid hit on him, normally he's going back or he's going down. But again, it's just not his game, and that's okay. Like, right, guys like LaShawn McCoy, they didn't win with power; they won with making everyone miss. So it's not really a knock on him, but it's to be expected in my mind at that frame. I would have loved to see a little bit better pad level. I gave him 6 for average because I saw it at times, not at others. One thing I will say, like I think he does a good job of like dipping his like inside shoulder that's like facing the defender. When he's going through the hole, he's able to dip his shoulder. So the defender on that side is basically just hitting off his backside instead of like hitting him on his shoulder and knocking him back. So I think he knows how to work around his physical deficiencies. So it's definitely, the weakest part of his game. I wouldn't call it like a glaring weakness, even though I gave him below average.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's just no way around it. I saw the same thing. Um, for 200 pounds, like I feel like he does have some good power at times. Like I did see him carry the pile a few times, which at 200 pounds was really cool to see. I did see some goal line carries where he charged forward and was able to score a touchdown, by driving his legs. So it is there at times, but um, the problem is, we mentioned it earlier. A lot of times, guys didn't get clear hits on him because he was so elusive that he kind of shifted his body a little bit. When guys did get clear hits on him, like most of the time, he was going down. Again, a lot of that is just frame issues. I think I gave him a 6 for physicality and power just because I did see him carry the pile at times, which for his size was impressive. I gave him a 5 for pad level. You mentioned that you saw him have okay pad level at times. I felt like it was more not okay than it was okay. I feel like he seemed more like an upright runner to me. A lot of times, guys hit him square standing up. So again, I think that's coachable, right? I think if he gets a good coach that just tells him to utilize leverage, I think he can get through this and maybe not become a power back because his size is going to limit him, but he can become more powerful than he showed in college. But again, I mean, if you're talking about this is his weakness, and I gave him a 6 for NFL average, like still good, right? Still not. I mean, even though it's his weakest trade, it's not something that like it's not like we're giving him 3s and 4s. So, interesting to note, he only had one fumble in 2025, so a 0.7% career fumble rate, which is outstanding. I mean, guy does not cough up the ball. He is not, as that one movie says, he is not running miles for coughing up the football.
Yeah.
Name that movie.
Yeah. I sent a clip earlier to y'all. It's like, oh my gosh, I think someone killed Emmett Johnson.
It was the Michigan film,
It was the
wasn't it?
Michigan game.
Yeah.
The safety got a clean hit and just sent him flying. And, sending that kind of remarks like if guys get a clean hit on him, he's probably going back. But impressive that he held on to the ball. I don't know how he did because I know me personally, that ball be flying in the
Yeah.
air. I'd be
Yeah.
crying on the ground. But he popped up right away and
Yeah.
on to the next play. So he's tough. I did see like the same thing. Like he's able to drive the pile because he always keeps his feet moving. So even though he's not the strongest, I don't know if maybe he just catches guys on an angle, or they just don't think that they have to bring the wood because he's not a huge back. But he's able to drive the pile forward at times.
Absolutely. Well, moving on, we're going to talk about the last trait we need to talk about, which is third down skill set. We all, especially playing in these PPR formats, right? We want a guy, a running back that's going to be on the field in third down situations. And Emmett Johnson was one of those guys. We alluded to it earlier. 54 targets. He caught 46 of them, 370 yards and 3 touchdowns. This guy, spoiler alert, is a pretty darn good pass catching back. We look at some of the statistics for him. He had a 68.5 reception grade. That's top 40% in FPS, 1.27 yards per route run. Again, top 40% in FBS. And he only had one drop on 54 targets. That was good for a 2.1% drop rate. Fun fact, both his drop and fumble rate came in the first 2 games of the season. He didn't have a drop or a fumble the rest of the year. So those are what the stats say. Does the film back up that he is a pass catching back? I'm going to throw it to you.
He is absolutely a pass catching back, and he's uh, Matt Cooper explains it beautifully a lot of times. Like, there's 3 tiers. Like, are you just a liability, have brick for hands, can't do it? Then there's guys that can do it. You can send them out on screens or just like halfback flat routes and they can do that. Or is he a weapon, that third tier where you can line them up in the slot out wide, can run angle routes from the backfield? I put him in that last category. I gave him an 8 for his receiving ability. I see him lined up out wide, running deep routes down the field, saw him in the slot. He's running really good routes out of the backfield. Um, there, there's just a lot of film where, like he did it all. Would I have loved to see a little bit more on the route tree? Yes. That kept me from going uh, higher than an 8. I think he can do it because he's got the physical ability and the looseness to be able to do it. And then going back to his hands are great. Um, is that UCLA game? I want you take the other play, but
Yeah.
there's another one right before it where Raiola is scrambling and just kind of like, last attempt kind of heaves it. He's running down the field, kind of has his back turned uh, up the field, so he's looking back at Raiola. It's like way underthrown. He has to like basically pluck it off the ground, and he's able to do that, and it will turn upfield. So he's able to make adjustments, catch it anywhere. It's not like it has to be a perfect pass. You see him on like a halfback wheel route running out of the backfield, streaking down the sideline, tracking the ball like a wide receiver. He just really showed me almost everything. I would have loved to seen a little bit more, like in cutting routes or like a comeback route, um, maybe like a post, just a little bit more on the route tree when they did line them up outside. Um, to get me higher than an 8, but I think he can do it. He's going to be a weapon to me at the next level.
No, even as you were saying, I had him in a 7.5, but even as I'm thinking through it, like I think I'm going to bump him up to an 8. Like I feel like he's higher than a 7.5.
Yeah.
So that's where hearing somebody else talk to it is like, yeah, what are you doing? 8. But because I agree with everything that you said, right? He's not just a running back that runs out into the flats. He doesn't just run upfield and kind of turn around into a hitch route. Like he's out, splitting out wide. He's running up the field. He's tracking the ball, like you said, like a wide receiver. In that same game, he is kind of running an angle route out to the sideline, turns upfield. Raiola throws the ball, and it's kind of out and away from him. He jumps up, high points the ball, plucks it out of the air. This is the play I was alluding to earlier. Puts the pass catching and the elusiveness and the game speed all together in one play. It was phenomenal. Like takes the ball down the sideline. 4 guys are around him at one point. He somehow has the elusiveness to get past all of those guys and then takes the ball to the house for a long touchdown. Like he's not somebody that's just, catching 2, 3, 4 yard dink and ducks. He can be a weapon as a pass catcher. And I think that's how Nebraska wanted to use them, and they were successful doing that. He's a guy that, could easily, I think, go to the next level and have 5, 6, 7 receptions a game easily. He's a guy that could probably get you an extra, you know, 10 fantasy points, maybe a game for just his receiving profile. Like he does that at just such a high level. Interesting enough, 52% of his targets only came within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. So I don't really know how to explain that because I did see instances of him being targeted deep downfield. I think he can do it. I think maybe he just wasn't utilized as much in that area. But seeing what I saw on film, especially in that UCLA game, like he can be a deep downfield weapon in the passing game. That's not something that I'm remotely worried about.
Yeah, and just to add on here, so he had 46 receptions this year. Last year, he still had 39 as well. So that's 85 catches just in the last 2 years. Like, we see some wide receiver prospects that don't get
Yeah,
that don't
they
catch that
don't
many
get they don't
passes.
get that
So
production profile.
yeah, so I think he has it all. Like, but hate to end on a sour note, but his pass protection was a little suspect. Again, smaller frame, smaller guy, having to block guys that are much bigger than him. They drove him back pretty regularly. Um, I don't think he looked lost in pass protection. There's a couple reps where he was, but uh, in the 7 games, there's plenty of tape where I didn't think he was lost. It was just physics. And he could definitely like clean up form, try and attack a little bit more instead of like waiting for them. So I think it's stuff that could be cleaned up. He does a decent enough job to try and give his quarterback time. So I gave him a 5 there for below average, but acceptable for college level.
Yeah, I gave him the same grade. I gave him a 5 for pass pro. I think, he waited too long. And for me, it did feel like sometimes he got surprised by the blitzing guys. Like whenever defenses ran those stunt moves or advanced blitzing techniques, like he sometimes struggled to pick up which guy he was supposed to block. He did occasionally lay some nice blocks, but then he would occasionally get just completely manhandled by some guys. I think the Michigan State tape, Minnesota, USC, really didn't help his grade. He had a 42.6 pass block grade, and a lot of those games hurt him because of that. He's not somebody that is going to be blocking for the quarterback, but I think based on the receiving profile that we just talked about, like he's your back that you want, out there catching passes. He's the back that you want between the tackles. Like he's still going to get third down work. I'm not too terribly worried about that at all. When you look at our final grades, here's where it gets interesting, honestly, because I had a 75.3 grade on him, which puts him right in the range of fantasy starter. He just crossed over flex option. He's sitting right there at the lower end of fantasy starter. You have him right there at 75.35. Again, right there at the tail end of fantasy starter. Our final grade ended up being for him a 75.33, which if you look at our rankings right now, puts him as the RB2 for us in this class, which maybe at the start of this draft process was a hot take. I feel like I've seen more and more people coming out saying that he's the RB2. I just saw a recent mock draft the Dynasty Nerds put out where he went at 109 or 110 in the rookie draft. So he's a guy that I think for the play, like that's probably where I would feel comfortable taking him, honestly. 108, 109, 110. Like that's where, for me, I feel like he slots right in. Like he is pretty clearly my RB2 in this class. Like he was such a fun tape watch. He's such a phenomenal player. He's somebody that I honestly have ranked a little higher than that low end fantasy starter grade may suggest. Like he was at times just really exceptional. Where do you stand on having him in your rankings? Is RB2? Does that sound right to you?
It's definitely right as of right now, just based on film grade. Once we have some more info on landing spots and capital investment from NFL teams, that could change. But as of right now, I think based on pure talent, he's the second best running back in this draft for sure. That we have scouted.
Yeah, for sure. So I find it interesting doing the research though, where I saw him come in the first round of rookie drafts. Now, honestly, Rupert made me a little sad because we were talking about it today. We were like, man, snag up those second round picks because then you can get Emmett Johnson. And I don't think that's going to end up happening come rookie draft time. I think people are too on him now.
Let's hold out some hope now. Let's hold out some hope.
So, well, that about does it for our show tonight. We do appreciate you guys joining us, hanging through my sickness. I know it was, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure that you join our Discord if you're not part of that Discord. We just love getting to know the people that listen to the show. It's an awesome community, over 200 people, and they're talking shop, talking football all the time. And as I just had the conversation with somebody today, football season is still actively going on right now. It is always football season, and we got a bunch of degenerates in there always talking football. So we want to see you in there. Make sure you join the Discord. It'll be in the show link. Leave a 5-star review on whatever platform you listen to. It helps people find the show. We'd greatly appreciate it. And until then, we'll be back next week continuing this Inside the Prospect series. We'll see you guys next time.